And welcome back to episode 76 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
Well, Carl, we are back for another week of the latest tech news, latest gadget news, and whatever else we can rustle up for this week's show. Sound good?
Indeed. Sounds good.
And for those of you who are eagle-eyed, you may notice that we've had an update to our brand image. You know, look at that, look, a bit of professionalism going on.
We have an image.
That we do now. Yes, so you may have noticed that we have a swanky new logo, which should hopefully show up in your podcast feed and wherever you get the podcast, and also on our main site of techrant.online. So we have gone, a little bit upmarket. We've gone for a nice minimalist logo to reflect, the modern style of the show and give us a little bit more of a professional look and feel. Cough, cough. Shame about the presenters, he says. But anyway, moving on swiftly. So last week we talked about all kinds of different things, including plans from the EU around the chips. We talked around SSDs, being a lot, well, not SSDs, but Western Digital losing NAND chips. This week we're going to bring a little bit more GPU flavor to the stories this week, haven't we? We've got a kind of bit of a heavy GPU.
We have.
Slot,
I hadn't noticed that, but now you mention it.
I'm just stuck in the middle there. We've got a bit of security, and we'll close out with another rumor for the upcoming Apple event as we get closer to it. Still haven't seen any invites, but as we said last week, we suspect those will probably come out in a week's time. So then, let's get the show on the road then. So this first story this week is from our friends over at Nvidia, who, after, I guess, knocking the whole ARM deal on the head, have got a bit of spare cash knocking around the bank, haven't they?
Tad.
And I guess when you've got money, you want to spend it. Seems to be the way. And
spend it they have.
And spend it they have, haven't they, to try and secure a bunch of capacity from TSMC around the 5 nanometer capacity that TSMC are producing. Because as we all know, Nvidia do not manufacture their own GPUs. They leave that to people like TSMC and other manufacturers. And like everybody under the sun, Apple down, everybody wants a piece of that action, don't they? Because
they do.
There is just not enough capacity to go around. So what are they looking to produce then? I guess this is got to be the 40 series, isn't it? We reckon
it has. They're is it the Ada Lovelace GPUs, which will be the 4000 series, and they have put down 10 billion, haven't they, to TSMC to grab a slice of that pie.
They have indeed. I know, and that's going to try and secure enough, capacity for them to produce. Well, the wafers, I suppose, isn't it, that they can then supply to the third parties who make the cards, people like Gigabyte and other players, MSI, etc. And the 5 nanometers is where the 40 series is. 5 nanometers is also where a lot of CPU tech is going as well. So it is quite a hot area to be.
It's a popular area.
But this isn't the first time, though, that Nvidia have kind of spent this much money, because apparently they spent $9 billion in their third quarter as well, just on inventory for future products.
Well, I think we spoke last week about AMD doing the same thing, didn't we?
We did.
They were assuring us they'll actually be. Was it last week? Was it last week? Or maybe the week before?
No, week before.
Yeah, and they were splashing a load of cash to shore up the supply chain, weren't they?
Well, this is what everybody's trying to do, because there just isn't enough to go around, and everybody's in the same boat. Everybody wants product. Nobody can get product out to their consumers. Yeah, everybody seems to be launching new products. How does this work? It's like the whole of 2021, nobody could buy pretty much anything in terms of stuff that was on the shelves, and that went through the roof. We all know what eBay scalpers are like, don't we? We've seen that time and time again.
And the miners stealing all the graphics cards.
I would say in about 10 years' time, when they finally built every one of these new fabs, in the US, in the EU, and in Asia, there'll be more product than we can do to, than we know what to do with. But by then, I won't care. It's like,
oh, exactly.
I don't know. It is crazy here, isn't it? That we're still a year later. There's still no.
It's more than a year. It's
respite.
2 years now, I think.
Well, I suppose it is 2 years when you think about it. Yeah, but AMD are doing the same. Nvidia are doing the same. Intel, probably, I guess they're going to have to start.
Well, they bought a new fab the other day, didn't they? It's not in our news, unfortunately, but I did hear they spent nearly $6 billion on a new fab.
Where are
they bought a fab? They bought a company that has a fab, so they're good to go.
Where are Intel getting all the money from, though?
Don't know. Mr. Gelsinger, isn't it? He's making some changes.
What, printing his own cash?
Oh, why not? It's probably easier than making actual CPU chips.
Well, I suppose also, though, he could be mining,
I agree. Ethereum, yeah.
Ethereum. I can't say the word. I can't say the word. He could be mining Ethereum.
Bitcoin. We'll just say Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency.
Crypto.
Well, it had been the case, wasn't it, though, that if you were running one of the 30 series cards, you weren't going to be able to do any mining because of the rate limiting that was going on there. But we did speak some time ago about some of the hacks or workarounds that were out in the field. Seems like that's gone up a notch, though.
It has. Well, obviously, Nvidia originally said this was unhackable, and then they accidentally shipped some drivers on a developer site that unhacked the unhackable, but gave you. I think it limits it to about 50%, and then their drivers would get you to 70%. But it seems, an enterprising guy by the name of or girl by the name of Sergey. So I'm going to presume a man, but maybe not. Anyway, he has released the LHR V2 unlocker, hasn't he? So apparently this removes all hash rate limits. So what it's doing is flashing a modified BIOS onto the Nvidia graphics cards. And then it's providing you with some custom drivers downloaded from a private server. So not your off-the-shelf drivers. And apparently this basically gets rid of all the unhackable stuff and you get full 100% hash rates out of it.
So basically then, as you say, it completely disables the card for any other usage but mining. You're going to have to, as you say, flash the ROMs, you're going to pull in those new funky drivers and off you trot. I suppose part of me is like, oh, that's not great. But yeah, I guess so. If you're buying these cards for mining, you don't care that they're not doing anything else. They are there to make you money, aren't they? And
they pay for themselves, yeah.
I saw on that if you've got an RTX 30 Ti 12 gig card, it can do 115.4. Is it mining hashes a second?
Mega hashes or mega hashes?
Yeah. Mega hashes, sorry, yeah. Compared to the RTX 3060, excuse me, with 12 gig, which can only do 49.6. So those 3080s are not bad cards at all, are they, really?
There's no 3090 on that list.
No, because they don't exist.
Because no one can actually afford those, whether you're a miner or not.
No, let's say, unless you have got the world supply of gold, it is not happening, are they?
So we'll just pretend that one didn't exist, like the 3090 Ti that Nvidia, are pretending doesn't exist.
I mean, look, I haven't tested this myself. I don't have a 30 series card, and you're not going to make yours.
I ain't going to do it because it took me long enough to get this one.
But whether this is real or not, I don't know. There's a lot of comments, aren't they, suggesting that this perhaps isn't as true as it appears.
It's going to be released on the 26th of February, so we'll find out at that point.
Though, if it's anything, like you say, from the fact that, Nvidia themselves unlock their own cards, it doesn't seem a million miles away that anybody who can reverse engineer the capabilities is going to be able to. Because flashing ROMs is not new. People have been flashing ROMs for a long time, haven't they?
Even the manufacturers. I remember on my 2070 from MSI, there was a firmware file, on the support site for upgrading the BIOS on the actual card. Just download it on Windows, run the executable, job done.
Yeah, and people for a long time, you flash stuff because it unlocks functionality, didn't it? Or it gave you capabilities.
A lot of overclockers do it, don't they? They load modified BIOSes in there to bypass power limits and stuff so they can overclock their chips.
That's right, and but I guess the modified driver set is something slightly different. The fact that you're doing both of those together, because even with the flash cards, typically you can still use the existing drivers, but here obviously we've got a custom driver, which I suspect again is probably in some way related to that developer driver. That
I'm pretty sure Nvidia originally said it was a joint BIOS and driver that was making this unhackable.
They did, yeah.
So no wonder they've got to tackle both ends.
But I mean, fair play, because if that's what if it is as good as it appears to be, then what stock is out there is going to slowly disappear again as miners probably go, oh, hang on, we'll give that another go, though, shall we? And off we trot. So I mean, the reality is, I'm not going to be getting a 30 series card. I don't think this year. I think I might as well sit tight.
At this point, go for the 40 series.
I was no point
waiting for the 30 at this point.
No,
sit tight for a little bit longer.
Sit tight. Perfectly. Yeah, my card's working quite happily. I might as well just sit here and wait for it to pass me by. I suppose I could go pick up, a cheap. I say cheap inverted commas, 1080 or something off. at eBay and pay £600-700 for that. It's good value, isn't it? Cough, cough.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So look at that. He's going to sleep. Like, oh yeah, sure. So so mining will take a slight detour then, and let's talk about a story that we actually talked a bit about. I think it was last week. Actually, saying that was it last
Yeah, did
week?
we talk
Yeah.
about AirTags last week?
No, maybe it was the week
It was the week
before.
before. It was the same week as the AMD stock, wasn't it?
Episode 75 clearly didn't stick in our mind either, did it?
No.
So yeah, if you recall back 2 weeks ago, then we spoke about people who were selling deactivated AirTags
Yeah.
on, was it Etsy? I think it was, on eBay.
Etsy and eBay, yeah.
That's the one. So basically, they had taken them. What was it? Made small changes to the AirTags.
Cut a bit of the PCB, and they
That was
snip the
it.
wire to the speaker, and there you go.
And off you trot. So you could drop them in somebody's bag, coat, whatever, and you could stalk them and would notice. You still obviously have the pop up, however, wouldn't you, on the phone, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't get the audible
But that's only
signal.
if you were on iOS. If the person who was stalking had an
Correct.
Android phone, unless they had the app and they had the app open, they won't hear anything.
No, which again was of some serious concern, and I think we all totally agreed at the time, completely nefarious and morally
There was
wrong
no
as well.
legit reason for that.
No, why would you do it? The only it's just the same way people sell stuff on the dark web that they shouldn't do. Same kind of logic, isn't it?
Yeah.
In that sense, seems though that some, I don't want to say enterprising, but I've said the word now. Developers have come up with a way to build clones of AirTags then that can leverage the FireMine protocol.
This is more of a proof of concept, isn't it? It's from a infosec company called Positive Security.
I love that. Brilliant name.
Yeah, Positive Security. And they want to kind of show that Apple still needs to do more. So there is, as we were just talking before we went on air, there's a bit of open source software you can get. I'm not going to say the name because I don't think we should, but it's a bit of open source software that they reverse engineered how the Find My network works. And basically, you can load this onto a Raspberry Pi or an ESP32 or a BBC microbit and basically make your own AirTag. But anyway, so these guys have taken that and put it on ESP32 with a battery pack, but then done some clever sauce behind on top of that to basically make an unfindable AirTag other than from Find My network. So if this is attached to you, you'll never be able to find it really, unless you can physically find it. It's all very clever how they're doing it, though.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I was really shocked because I thought the Find My network was closed to only, I guess, approved devices, i.e., the AirTags, and also those third party
people.
Yeah, that clearly we're having to use some kind of Apple authentication to gain access to the Find My network to allow their devices to use it effectively.
It seems that all the security is in the AirTag and not on the network, which is the point I think these guys are trying to make.
Yeah, so I was really puzzled by this because I was like, well, surely, something you wouldn't be able to do it. But it seems though, doesn't it, from this proof of concept that the guys at Positive Security have done, has proved that you can have one of these devices, it will track your location the same way as an AirTag will, but it will not notify you on an iOS device, will it? And
no.
They I think in one of their tests, they kind of had it for a whole day, didn't they? Of somebody.
Oh, 5 days. 5 days. They had a willing volunteer, obviously, but 5 days and no notification. And the way they're doing that, though, is that they've been very clever. So each AirTag has its own unique, I suppose, certificate pair.
Yeah.
Identifies it as a unique item. Well, basically, they've just generated 2,000 different key pairs, and they're cycling that every 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds, it looks like your phone looks like it's seeing a new AirTag. And it changes, and you won't see it for another 17 hours. So it's not going to trip up any mechanisms that Apple put in place. But then on the back end, these guys have built a program that then queries Apple's API for these 2,000 different APIs, because obviously they know based on the time which API they need to query for, and then and then they just show you exactly where that device is.
I mean, the 2,000 devices, part of that, what the heck? But then you're right. The whole point is that this is exactly what would be in the wild, in theory, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you could be on the London Underground and see that easily.
Yeah, as your phone
trip across London.
Through. I mean, I think I said at the time, without going back to listening to us again, but I said the whole concept of the Find My network leveraging what realistically is a private network, isn't it, between every
Yeah.
iOS device out there,
Yes.
is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But it appears basically then that somebody's got inside this walled garden, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've hopped
Through
the fence.
lack of defense on Apple's part at the network level.
Yeah. Which is this because Apple did not think that somebody would circumvent this way? Or was or what we're seeing here, is this truly a vulnerability where they haven't secured the network enough and actually they could go back and do it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could probably retrofit this. I don't know.
Would
I
it?
mean,
Well, yeah. So the point being is, so the whole thing about the audio piece, wasn't it? So the AirTags that
yeah,
had the sound cut out was because the new measures that Apple brought in was around that they make a sound and they then
yeah,
send a notification to a nearby phone.
yeah,
So the sound part's fine. And as you say, they have a key pair. So there's a public-private key pair between the AirTag
yeah,
and the phone
and the network, yeah,
and the network that allows them to basically register on the network and, I guess, announce their presence, isn't it?
yes, exactly.
This is leveraging the network to piggyback the location piece, but it isn't then notifying its presence to any other iOS device because, as far as they're
Because it doesn't
concerned,
see it long enough.
no, it's like
It's a different device every 30 seconds.
yeah, it is. It's what's the I can never say the word. Begins with O. You know, obfuscation.
Oh God, yeah, I
You know
know.
the
I'm not going to say it now either
yeah.
now.
Oh Jesus! But you're right. It's just basically hiding in plain sight, isn't it? Because it's just
Yeah,
blasting everything out to hide. Spoofing 1,000 or 2,000 keys and sitting there in the middle of them and walking along. Now, part of me is like, this is quite dangerous, and I'm like, in any other concept, why wouldn't if you found a bug in Apple's software, i.e., let's just
yep,
say iOS, you would go for a bug bounty, wouldn't you?
yep.
Well, most responsible researchers would leverage a bug bounty program if it
In all
if it
fairness,
exists.
they haven't released this. The software the foundation software is open source. It's on GitHub. I'm sure
Yeah.
Apple know about this. That's not new. The bit that interacts at the network level, but their secret source for doing the changing and all that, they haven't released that.
No, because you're right. That's a whole new level, I guess. But it isn't. If they can do it, other people can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, yeah, I don't know if they've submitted this to Apple. I wouldn't be surprised if they have, and Apple just said nothing. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that Apple
No,
have
no,
just
no.
pretended this doesn't exist.
No, you're right, and I'm not defending Apple here. I mean, what I will say in a slight defense to them is, you know, this isn't 100% Apple's fault in the sense
Oh,
of,
no.
you know, they've created a product, they've created this whole network, and there's a vulnerability in it. Now, it is their responsibility then to resolve that vulnerability, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It isn't Apple's fault though that there are sick people out there who want to track people or locate people illegally.
No,
That's not their problem because that's been around for as the dawn of time. People would do that regardless of Apple or not. They'd find another way, wouldn't they? Let's be fair about that.
of course, yeah.
Apple unintentionally have just made this easy for them.
Well, they have. They made the technology easily accessible and cheap.
Yeah, like everything else, isn't it? Like everything else, you know.
Yep.
And Apple have got third parties, wasn't it? What was the first one that came out? Was that you had a device? Was it Chipolo or Chipolo?
Yeah. Yes, Chipotle. I can't
Chipolo or
remember now. I
something
bought one, but it's not. Yeah, it doesn't have the ultra wideband in it, so it's not used that much.
No, and then obviously Belkin have signed up as well. There was another bike
Yep.
company, I think, wasn't there, that signed up for it as well.
Yeah, lots
But
of people are putting it into their products as well.
but those companies are all going to have to signed up to Apple's T's and C's, and I'm sure they will have to have notifications pop up
Yep.
on the devices. So and that's basically where Tile, didn't want to play in this game, did they? Because
Right.
in a funny kind of way, Tile could have they in an alternative universe, Tile could have signed up to Find My Network and sold a cheaper alternative to an AirTag, yet leverage
Yeah.
the capabilities. Couldn't they really?
Yeah, of course they could have done. Yeah.
But what we've got now is people building clones. Now, you and I, like I say, we're not going to say about the software. You know, if you want to find it, you'll find it. But it is not complex. You know, we had a quick look at it, didn't we, before it came on air? Just the idea of what was needed to do it. You know, it's not. This isn't the kind of thing that you're. I don't say this lightly, but you know, this isn't your run of the mill stalker who's going to try and do something. You know, this isn't something you can just pick up and run with. This requires a little bit of skill, doesn't it, to be able
Yeah,
to
it does.
set
Yeah.
up. But I think, like the point you made earlier, is somebody can weaponize this and turn it into a service.
Yeah, someone will make this into a product.
Yeah, unless Apple close the door on it.
Yeah, so I think they need to do something, definitely, and
I
I think
yeah.
they're going to be slowly improving security, but how much they can retrofit, I don't know.
I definitely think that they need to somehow close the door on the Find My network to lock out any device that it should not be there.
Yeah,
How they do that, I'm not going to sit here and speculate that because I don't know, but yeah, definitely this is a huge problem, and one that clearly existed before the AirTags turned up. But
yep,
again, all that's happened here is that the AirTags, being as you say an accessible product that you buy off the shelf, of all of a sudden just put it into the glare of regulators, the glare of law enforcement, and the glare now of people going, "What the hell is going on here?"
yeah, exactly.
But I I would be interesting. I would be interested to know what percentage, or no, in a different way, how many incidents of this happened with Tile.
Yeah, I don't
Because,
know.
and I know they're not going to publish that, but I wonder how many. If you did a bit of research, how many, um, you know, there were stalking instances where Tile was involved.
Yeah, I mean, there's nowhere near as many notifications, is there?
No, no,
But in the network, yeah, didn't the network wasn't as good as it, or isn't as good
no,
as
no.
the
You're
Apple
right.
one.
You were relying, weren't you, on somebody to have a
It
Tile
was rather
application?
vague that you might be within this mile radius, or half
Yeah,
a mile radius, depending on how many people with running the tile software are actually out and about.
I love the concept of Tile, and I say I've got one here. I'm looking at it now. It was in my
Yeah.
work bag. Did I ever use it? No.
I think we had one, but then it was one of the earlier ones, and you couldn't replace the battery. So after a year or two, when it ran out, you're like, well, that was a lot of money because it only lasts a year or two, and we didn't use it that much. So you're right. Yeah, never bought another one.
No, and I got mine free. I went to an event where, funnily enough, Vodafone were giving them away, and I got one, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool," Um,
Yeah,
and I really like, and I'd wanted one for ages, but yeah, it was just a bit of a fad, you know. It was,
yeah.
but there you go. It was, it's. I guess it's in a funny kind of way. Do you remember people were sending Bluetooth messages to phones
Oh god, what was that called again? Blue staffing or
or blue jacking,
something or
wasn't
other,
it?
wasn't it? Blue jacking? No, that was it. Something like that. Yeah.
And people were doing that on iPhones, weren't they? But people, and you could just get messages pop up, and then obviously you had to accept it, um, and things like that. It's the same kind of
No
thing,
one
is
ever
it?
sent me a message.
No, I never had it happen to me either, but that's probably not a bad thing, is it? I don't know, but just privacy is a huge concern, and given that Apple is so customer centric on privacy, it puzzles me why they aren't publicly doing more here. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're not doing anything behind the scenes, but I'm just saying
No.
publicly. I don't know. But
And
talking
let's
of
give some
privacy,
time. This was only announced the other day, so let's give
yeah,
them
well, yeah,
a
but
bit of time to respond.
yeah, but I'm thinking, but the other stuff wasn't released the other day, was it? The other things around the
No,
AirTags,
no, it was not.
and that software, the open source software, wasn't released yesterday.
No, no.
That was what published, I think, over a year ago. Um, so
Yeah,
just
there are
just
13 releases in, so when would it
just
first come
saying,
out?
just
Yeah,
saying, and it's been forked 198
back in
times.
March. So yeah, just under a year ago.
Yeah, like I say, 139 forks, 190, sorry, 198 forks.
Yeah, a lot of people have copied that.
Anyway, before we get any further down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
let's take a step back over to America to have a look at President Trump's latest social media platform. What's it called, Carl?
The truth is out there. Well, kind
No,
of.
that's it. That's the X-Files, my friend.
Well, that was my tagline, but you beat me to it. It's called Truth. Yeah.
Oh God. Oh.
Well, it's got off to a bit of a rocky start, hasn't it? It launched Sunday night, so it's about 3 days ago for us here now as we record this. But yeah, it's been plagued with numerous technical glitches, and a lot of users are even struggling to basically onboard themselves to get signed up. I mean, it had a 13-hour service outage on the night it debuted. That's not great.
No, not
what
at
else
all.
we've got? We've got confirmation emails expiring before they even arrive. It's taken so long to get them out to people. There are numerous bugs. It's only available on iOS at the moment as well. So Android users, you're out of luck.
Yeah, but Trump, he doesn't want to know about Android stuff.
No. But surprisingly, there are over 500,000 people on the waiting list.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was just going to say that the beta of test of the web platform obviously happened last year, didn't it? And it got pulled after a while because people were impersonating people like Trump, weren't they? They were signing up for accounts, left, right, and center. And then obviously we had the whole story around them using the Mastodon open source software, didn't they? That they didn't attribute.
They denied it was their Mastodon, didn't they? They said they made it all themselves and then quietly snuck an open source page onto their website.
And of course, what we've seen here is that some users who did get on board the Truth Social were also booted as well, because they were signing up for usernames that were, one of the guys, wasn't it? I think it was on the Engadget. The guy signed up, a user called Matt Ortega, signed up with @DivineNoonsCow, but was booted. It turned out that it was a parody Twitter account of the same name, which was based on former representative of Devon Nunes, who is now the CEO of Truth Social parent company, which, if I recall on my note, is T Media Tech LLC or something like that, or something
like that. Yeah.
But the app itself then has got loads of 5-star reviews already.
But have you read some of them? Quite a lot of them are saying, it's 5-star. I can't sign up yet and haven't used it, but it's 5-star.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I've got to read some of them out because it's absolutely hilarious. So there's one 5-star review here that says, I won't read the whole of this. It's just great. Placed on wait because this app is blowing up so hard. That's how you know it's going to be good. It's going to be popular. When the app can't handle the amount of users signing up, you know it's doing something right. No, that's bad planning. Another one here. Free speech. I'm excited to have a platform that will not censor and stifle free speech and dissidents. This is so important, coming at such a significant time. It's sad that the other big social media companies have become communist authoritarians. And thanks to President Trump and his team, we can once again enjoy free thought. And yes, that goes on a bit more.
No. Well, you can't.
Hang on.
It's not free. You got more to say, have you?
Wait, I've got more to say. You
go for it.
However, 1-star review. Very buggy app, crashes my iPad. The Truth Social app was incredibly buggy. It crashed my iPad more than a handful of times. When it wasn't crashing my iPad, it wouldn't let me fill out things. It hangs and stalls for seconds, then it would slow down. It would flash like a strobe light for 30 seconds. It gave me a headache, and I've decided I couldn't risk a seizure from running this any longer.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, most of the 5-star reviews are just appear to be complete and utter people who have questionable choices in life, perhaps around. It's just catering to the masses. That if you go back 50, 60 years, people did think like this. This isn't new. People have always, should we say, had viewpoints that were not of the I guess the center, have they, or whatever, or the social norms. But empowering people was very difficult. Today, it's not hard, it's not hard to get on with this, and it's just odd, I mean, I love the fact of, like, they think the way they read this on the App Store, and this is verbatim off their app page. It says, what exactly is the Truth Social's big tent approach? Think of an outdoor giant event tent at your best friend's wedding. Who's there? There's a combination of multiple families from all over the United States and the world. Uncle Jim from Atlanta is a proud libertarian. Aunt Kelly from Texas is a staunch conservative. Your cousin John from California is a die-hard liberal. And guess what? They're all together having an amazing time. And although they don't always agree with each other, we welcome their varied opinions and robust conversation. Well, that's absolute steaming horse manure, because that is not that is nothing. I'm sorry, but this is this week's rant, and this week's rant is Trump. You are a complete and a liar. They are that is not the case. You know full well if you dip in your toe into that water, if you can get in it, it is going to be a full-on center of hate. And if you don't agree with what's going on in there and you voice that opinion, you are going to get absolutely flamed for it, aren't you?
Well, this is the irony, okay? So it's being billed as a free speech alternative to Twitter with more lax content moderation policies.
Well, I had a feeling this was coming.
It turns out it isn't. So if we look at Truth Social's moderation policy, it's actually significantly more strict than Twitter. So unlike Twitter, on Truth Social, users can get suspended or even booted from the platform altogether for posting content, ready for this, that moderators consider to be false, defamatory, or misleading.
Well, Trump will never be allowed to talk then, will he?
I say, maybe he's been banned already. Who knows?
But so how are they going to moderate that then? Is this some clever AI machine learning?
There's some bots. I don't know how clever the bots are going to be. A lot of it's community moderated, and then there are obviously some actual moderators paid for by Truth Social.
I mean, this is just some people's version of hell, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, the Trump Technology and Media Group, has just come up with some absolute steaming pot of probably some of the worst parts of society, I'm afraid to say. And, and that's my opinion. I'm totally entitled to say that. Hang on a minute, I should get an account.
You should do. They won't ban you at all.
No, not at all. But it just is, how long will this stay up for? That's what I'm waiting for. That's my kind of like set your timer now on this, because I don't particularly see that staying up far too long.
No, me neither. But it could be wrong.
You could be wrong. I don't think you're going to be
wrong.
There.
No, probably not. But it could be wrong. I could be proved wrong on this one.
Dear. Sorry. I need to have a breather. That's just
take a drink of water.
Yeah. By the way, though, on the app privacy, it takes your contact info, your browsing history, and user content to find your identity.
Right, that sounds like an awful lot. What's the one with my browsing history?
That's what it says. Data linked to you may be collected and linked to your identity. And it says data that is collected but not linked to your identity is also your contact info, identifiers, diagnostics, and usage data. Well, that's typical. A lot of apps do that, don't they, for experience and management. But the browsing history part worries me.
And your content as well. So does that mean photos?
Well, yeah.
Videos?
I suppose that argument, though, is if you post something.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But browsing history is a kind of one there.
Yeah. That's kind of a little alarm bell, isn't it?
And that's the advertising angle, guys.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's going to need to make money somehow.
Yes, it might be free, but how do you think they're monetizing this? Yes. So just be aware of that if you sign up for this. And if, let's be honest, if that's your views and you're currently, sharpening your pitchfork to come and get us, look, if you want to have a play with it, please do. We're not going to say that you shouldn't do, but just be prepared, I guess, for what you're getting into on that front. Oh dear. Right. Parking then. Parking crazy Trump. Intel had a bit of an update this week, didn't they? They had a bit of a meeting. I know you were kind of keen on talking about
their annual investor meeting, didn't they? So a lot of tidbits came out, but mainly around their graphics processors and kind of release schedules and stuff.
So Carl, what do we got? What were the high level?
So obviously, we're waiting for Alchemist, aren't we? Which is the one that Intel said was going to be out in Q4, and then Q1, and we've still not had it. But they've assured us we're getting the mobile Alchemist GPUs in Q1, desktop in Q2.
Is this Intel's queues or is this calendar
I
queues?
don't know. I'm presuming it's still calendar queues, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
So mobile sometime before the end of March. Then, if it's calendar quarters, so mobile laptops, desktops in Q2, workstations in Q3, and they're expecting to ship over 4 million units this year, which sounds like a lot, but isn't actually that much. I think when I was doing a bit of research, AMD and Nvidia usually sell about 15 million each a quarter.
This is a real slow launch, isn't it? In
It's
that
a
sense,
very slow launch.
are
And it
they
gets slower as we start to talk about the next revisions.
are they just seeding um, a few of these boards left, right, and center rather than doing mass production?
Well, yeah, I mean, on those 4 million this year, the majority of those are going to be OEM stuff, surely.
And yeah, that is none of that is across the
That's not
counter
going to be your
consumer.
discrete GPUs you can go and buy off the shelf.
No, not at all.
And, maybe the OEMs are the right place, because as I've read more and more about this, it sounds like Alchemist isn't the ones that we're after.
No.
They're not your enthusiast boards or even your ultra enthusiast boards. They're more your general boards. So
No,
maybe OEMs are the right place for them.
well, I guess you are. If you're looking at box shifters here, aren't you? So your Dells, your HPs, your
Yeah.
Lenovo's, who are going to upgrade their latest laptop line, whatever it might be, with the latest older Lakes, and then you're going to have an Arc instead of an Iris. You're going to have an Arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
If I recall, didn't the next one up the line have a pretty of a funky name that we quite liked?
Battle Mage.
That was it. I knew that. I was about to say Druid, but I thought that was wrong.
No, we've got Battle Mage and then we've got Celestial after that.
Oh,
So Battle Mage is the enthusiast GPU, and Celestial is going to be your ultra enthusiast one. So your 3080, 3090 competitor.
so Battle Mage. Then when is that slated for? Because it's clearly not anytime soon.
Battle Mage is 2023 to 2024. And the good, interesting tidbit I saw there is that actually the discrete GPU will actually be packaged as part of a CPU. So when Intel released Meteor Lake, we're on what we on Older Lake at the moment, aren't we? And then we've got Raptor Lake and then Meteor Lake. So 2023 kind of timescale. That's at that point Intel are moving to a new chiplet based architecture. So very much like AMD does.
Yep.
So they'll be building the new Meteor Lake. Will have a compute, well, they're calling them tiles rather than chiplets. A compute tile, a SOC tile, which I'm presuming is handling all the I/O, and then you'll have a GPU tile. So it's actually going to have one of these Battle Mage GPUs embedded into the CPU package.
How big are these CPUs going to be?
Or how small is Battle Mage?
Well, yeah, that's the other argument, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
What about cooling this? I mean, God.
I mean, Intel's not renowned for being power efficient, are they, at the moment?
I have another question on that as well. What about the VRAM?
Well, I don't know. Are they going to put on? Maybe they'll put on like a 8. Well, quite a lot of the Intels have been advertised with up to 16 gig of VRAM, aren't they? Are they going to chuck 16 gig on the old CPU die? And allow the compute tile and the GPU tile to use it as well as your system RAM. Who knows?
Then you're getting into the Apple architecture style, aren't you?
You are, yes. So maybe we're going that way. I don't know.
Yeah, which would be interesting. But then you'd still need discrete RAM.
As well, I imagine so. But this would just be like a level 4 cache.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I don't know. I mean, it didn't mention anything about that. It was very high level in the slides.
It just got me thinking. It was like, where'd that be? So Battle Mage then is next year into the following year then, which is
and Celestial is 2024, 2025. They said 2024 plus.
Is that just stick your finger in the air and kind of wonder when that might turn up?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and the architecture for the Celestial, I'm assuming, is similar to the Battle Mage.
There was literally no information, but I imagine that will also be tile/chiplet based as well. But yeah, that's a Celestial is built as a next gen architecture rather than the current gen. So they're going to be changing things up again for Celestial.
I just, we had such high hopes for these, and I still do in a funny kind of way.
They're just dragging it out, though, aren't they?
Is this though because they can't produce them, which makes me wonder,
Could be.
or is this because they have issues with them? Just either way.
They're not up. Maybe they're not competitive. Who knows?
Maybe they're not competitive, and that is the problem. There is it. Maybe it's then, well, actually, we can't get it to be as efficient versus the AMD competitive, because at this point they're not competing necessarily with. Well, they are competing. I tell a lie. They are competing with Nvidia, but what I mean is, are they from a CPU perspective? Then they're trying to pair them together. The same as AMD would do, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Are they having? Is it a case of we can't actually make it as effective? Is it
Yeah,
power
and I
efficiency?
suppose by having them in mobile as a discrete GPU that's better than on board, they're kind of still competitive then, I suppose, especially if the power's okay. By shipping to all the OEMs for desktops, and they're really hiding that away for people that aren't potentially after performance parts, but are after something good enough.
Yeah, so Meteor Lake then. So Meteor Lake's next year, and that she said that's following on from Raptor Lake, isn't it? So Alder Lake,
Yeah,
Alder
so they've
Lake
not
is the
released
current.
Yeah, current. Then we got Raptor Lake at some point, probably I would imagine end of this year, and then Meteor Lake at some point the year after, or even a year after that. It says 2023 to 2024, so who knows?
But AMD then, technically speaking, are, I would say, slightly ahead on the setup here, because
Well,
of
yeah, I mean AMD are doing that with their 6000 mobile,
yeah.
and they're sticking in the 680. I think it's called a 680 MX or something, which is not a full on GPU, but way better than on board. All based on the RDNA 2 and 3 architecture.
Very peculiar, very peculiar, and we're still. I mean, we aren't really seeing any of these. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you are there. Are there any for sale yet? I don't think they are they?
I think there was an original Intel DG1 floating around on eBay the other day.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Which was also shipped to OEMs, but that's not even Alchemist. That's kind of pre-Alchemist.
Yeah, but I mean, can you buy a laptop with Arc on it at the moment? I don't think you can either, can
but
you?
then you can't really buy the AMD 6000 yet either. They're all due out like any week now.
Yeah, I just look. It just puzzles me that this is dragged on again.
Does yeah
for what's going, and no, I'm not expecting Intel to come out and go, you know what, here's the problem, blah blah blah. It just that
there was a big Pat on the other line. Give us a minute.
Yeah,
He's addressing this personally.
Huge. Yeah, well, that would be awesome. Huge fanfare of release. Huge fanfare around new products.
Yeah,
going back in the industry. Early indications of the XE boards, wasn't there, and where that's going and everything, and then just tailed off. Taking supply constraints out of the way, which they have. It's just very much a case of now drip feeding stuff. And this event wasn't. If I think I read somewhere that it wasn't a live event, was it? It was all pre-recorded as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, they've been talking about this forever now, for over a year easily.
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of Pat's big plan, let's be honest, to get back into different markets, to start being more competitive. But you got to have product, haven't you? You got to have product to be competitive.
You got to ship something at some point.
Yeah, even if it's one, show us it.
Just get it out for review.
Just give us something. Let's see what's happening on. I've not read much about Rocket Lake from a CPU perspective. I try. Is that 7nm as well? No,
I'm not sure, but I imagine this is more of an evolution than a revolution, isn't it? So,
a ticket rather than a talk, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't know which way around that one is. I don't know. Whichever the not a massive leap forward one is.
Yeah. So, and it's not, and I think as well, isn't it? If I recall, I'm sure I read somewhere that it isn't on. It's still on 14nm.
Could be.
But it's back. But it's the back ported. So yeah, this is the other thing.
Didn't they backport some of the stuff from Rocket Lake into Alder Lake, or was that?
That was it. Sorry, you are right. Alder Lake had Rocket Lake backported, but I've just looked it up, and Rocket Lake is still 14 nanometer.
Wow. Okay.
Which,
Getting with the times, Intel.
when you think about, oh
But
no,
even if we
hello, Laura.
say Intel stuff's quite advanced, so maybe we'll call their 14 nanometer, everyone else is 12 or 10. That's still quite far behind.
Look, I'm an idiot. I was talking about Rocket Lake, not Raptor Lake.
Ah, okay.
Too many R's. Sorry, Rocket
Lots of
Lake.
lakes.
Rocket Lake was the predecessor to Alder Lake.
Gotcha.
So
Right. Okay.
Alder Lake was launched in November last year, and that was what was that? I think that was 10 nanometer. That's 10 nanometer.
Right.
Which was, if you recall, was named. It was the Intel 7 process. It was kind of a
Ah, yeah.
misnomer, wasn't it? So Raptor Lake will replace Alder
Alder
Lake,
Lake.
but as you say, I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much information on it. Everything is looking like, so. I think it's, was it 1, 2, 3, 13 generation. So it should. You'd like to think that they should got to have 7 nanometer by that stage, wouldn't you?
You would hope so. Yeah.
So yeah, Rocket Lake or bloody hell, Raptor Lake is 2022, supposed at the end of this
We'll
year.
just call it Velociraptor Lake. Yeah.
Yeah, so that should support DDR5X, and they should also support the what's the other thing I read somewhere? Yes, hybrid CPU cores and CPU caches for gaming.
Okay. Awesome. So copying AMD's Infinity Cache then, yeah?
Exactly. Which, if you can't beat them, join them, isn't it? As always.
Exactly.
But yeah, I just again dragging out. But it wasn't the only thing. I mean, so we know the GPUs are dragging on, but it wasn't the only thing they released at that event, was it? Or not released, they announced.
No. I found our upgrade for our home lab, our next one. I want one of these.
I've got some concerns on this because this puzzles the hell out of me. So
Not just the name. So they've announced Intel's Arctic Sound M server accelerator. Now, I thought this was a sound card.
I did as
Arctic
well.
Sound. I was like, huh? Intel releasing a sound card? Okay, I'm down with it. No, it's not. It's a GPU accelerator card, isn't it, for servers?
Yes. And I was like, what in the name of her? I read it the same as you did.
They're dubbing it as a media and analytics supercomputer. Sorry, not a GPU accelerator.
Oh, so sorry. I mean, what? I mean, the naming convention off the first is like, I'm sorry, a sound card. But I think it's in the basis of a sound, isn't it? Like, is in like sound sometimes is, like in there's the Puget Sound, isn't there? There is it's like a cove or a like a natural waterway.
Right. I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, so there's like Lancaster Sound, there's Puget Sound, there's Cumberland Sound.
Okay.
They're like they're like I say, a natural sort of water area. So lake sounds, I guess. I don't know. I'm making this work here, but yes,
it did sound nice to chuck in one of our servers though. It will do. Was it 8 simultaneous 4K transcodes, 30 simultaneous 1080p transcode, and actually will be the first card out there that will do hardware encoding and decoding of AV1, which is the successor to H.265.
It also did, wasn't it, something like cloud gaming? It would support up to 30 plus game streams.
30 plus game streams.
But what the hell does that mean?
Does that mean it's rendering 30 games and streaming them? Or is it just encoding the output from a graphics card and streaming it?
I genuinely was like...
Yeah, it was very, very vague on that part.
It just... yeah, that's the whole thing. It turns out though, so I mean, some of the I guess what do you want to call them? People are reviewing this seem to think that it's an Alchemist board, isn't it? Underneath it.
Yeah, looking at the die shots from the video and stuff, they're saying they reckon it's Alchemist, which would then mean Alchemist has hardware encoding decoding for AV1 in it.
Maybe. I mean, it's like you say, as a server card, this is perfect. I mean, if you're ever going to, if it comes out, that'd be great. It'll probably cost, an arm and a leg.
Costing more than what we spend on our actual all our servers combined, obviously. But yeah.
it just, yeah, it is quite impressive. But sampling to, I love the sampling today, shipping mid 2022. Okay, yeah, all right.
Okay. Okay.
Again and again, until we see specs of these things, it might as well just be a chocolate unicorn,
Well,
for all
that's
the.
it. That's it. So there was one last tidbit of Intel
There was,
information,
yeah,
and they've been on not just a spending spree, not just buying fabs and all that stuff. They've been
people.
poaching employees too. So yeah, they poached Rohit Verma, who's a senior fellow and lead SOC architect for discrete GPUs at AMD. So yeah, they're going to poach the competition. But this is more of him. This is for him returning to Intel, isn't it? Because he used to work there from between 1999 and 2013 as their lead SOC architect. So AMD poached him, and then they poached him back now.
Yeah, I was gonna say this isn't quite the oh my god, they've stolen stuff from Intel. It's sorry, AMD. I
No.
mean, it's actually no, he's gone home. It turns out he used to work quite closely with Pat Gelsinger, and Pat apparently
Yes.
was allegedly involved in his
His
what's
return.
the word? Well, yeah, the return. That's probably the best way of looking at it, isn't it? And I'm sure they've paid him a handsome fee to come home.
Yeah, and
Um,
he's going to be their lead product architect at Intel's accelerated computing group.
as I said to you earlier, where how deep are Intel's pockets? Where is this money coming from? Because the coffers must be running pretty low now.
I
Or
don't
am I
know. I
just
don't
or
know.
am I just, where are they printing their own money? I mean,
But
because it's
maybe they've canned other parts of the products we haven't realised and cut back here and there, and or maybe
but
they're
it's
just splashing the cash.
but there are billions. I mean, think of all. I mean, okay, I know those fabs aren't going to just be built by Intel, are they? So they're going to get
No,
investments
and there'll
and
be
they're going to get,
subsidies and all sorts of
yeah,
stuff going to those
you're
labs.
right. There's going to be tax subsidies and everything from those and things like that. So that's probably going to help them. But the acquisition of the companies are doing, the reorganization of the business units costing money. I mean, I don't know. It's just in the way. Intel were going the wrong direction, and that's the whole reason why
Oh,
Pat's out. We know
massively,
that,
yeah.
and Pat is there to ensure that this ship is sailing on the right direction. So whenever he finishes his career, Intel will be a steady ship, and I think it's right. And Rome wasn't built in a day. This is not a sprint; it is a marathon, isn't it? In
Yeah.
terms of getting the company to where it is, and I guess the same with a lot of the companies. The products that they're launching. But it is a very aggressive strategy, and getting people like what's this guy's name, Rohit Verma, over to Intel again, or bring him back, proves that they can get the people there. So people left because clearly they weren't happy with Intel, weren't they?
No,
And
exactly.
getting him back to Intel surely must have been a coup, because to get him home to say come on back,
Top talent is coming back. Yeah.
yeah, that's a real coup to say, look, we can get these people. These people want to work for us. They're going to do it. Intel have got everything to gain here and everything to lose, because we've had to, for too long. It's been Nvidia and AMD in the market. Only two real players in this space. Intel, laughed out of the GPU market a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we need competition. We said it on the show before. We need competition. We need alternatives. And actually, wouldn't it be cool to have the AMD style GPU CPU set up from Intel to get
Yeah.
more performance? I'd be up for
Would
that
be
if it's
lovely.
good.
Yeah.
You know, Nvidia should be worried, but I don't think they are, because Nvidia have got fingers in other pies. The whole machine learning AI, the smart NICs,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the HPC side of stuff. They're not worried.
No,
AMD, I
not at all.
think, are probably more worried here.
Yeah, maybe.
What is the one thing that AMD don't have that Intel do? Fabs.
But yes, true.
You know, because if they have to get into a war over production, the one thing they can do here is absolutely churn it out through their own products, through their own fabrication units. They can also
But then
obviously
will they be
offer.
competitive on those larger node sizes?
Well, that is the challenge, isn't it? That's the challenge, and that's why they're with TSMC, isn't it? That's the
Yeah.
only reason.
But currently, that's just for the GPUs, not the CPUs
No,
yet.
but yet, but if as we unless
But then they're
Intel can do
investing
it,
all these new fabs. So are
well,
they
yeah.
going to go that way?
Well, I'd imagine the new fabs are going to be built with lower nanometer in question, and I guess the tech from people like ASML are going to help drive that.
Yep.
I imagine it's probably more cost effective to build a new fab than it is to completely rip out and re-engineer an existing
Oh
fab.
yeah, because all the downtime in the current fabs can't be good for you.
No, no. But at the moment, Intel are talking a good talk, but the fight's not there, is it?
No.
But there we go. There we go.
We go.
Right then, there's a lot there to talk, a lot to cover. So it's time for the Tech Rant Rumor Mill.
So yeah, we are squarely back in. Well, not that we ever leave or go for very far, but we're back with Apple again, aren't we? So, and their March event. So the rumor mill is bubbling away, and we hold old Mr. Gurman, Mark Gurman. He's released another one of his. Is it Power On newsletters or whatever he
Oh
calls it?
yes, that's the one. Yep.
That's the one, and he's now saying that he's saying we get 4 new Macs, but I counted there are more than 4. But I digress. So let's get down to business. So he's referring to the old M2 chip. So he's saying that in March event, we're going to get a 13-inch MacBook Pro with an M2 chip in it. Now this will sit underneath the 14 and the 16 when they're currently out there.
Yeah.
We're going to get several Mac Minis, one with an M1 Pro chip and one with an M2 chip. So it'll be interesting to see how they stack up against each other. We're getting a 24-inch iMac with M2 and a larger iMac Pro with M1 Pro and M1 Max. How many times have I said M1? We're not done yet. There's a lot coming apparently. We've got a redesigned MacBook Air with M2. And the one we've been waiting for, but I'm not quite sure it's the one we really want. We're going to get a half-sized Mac Pro. It'll be the first Mac Pro with Apple Silicon, and it's going to have a brand new chip that combines either 2 or 4 M1 Max chips in it. Have you got all that?
I have. So we've talked about this at length offline, haven't we? Around the M2
we have,
here.
Yeah.
And we kind of were batting this idea around, is it the M2 too soon? And you made a good point of going, well, actually, when was the M1 released? Not the M1 Pro or the Max, but the M1 was released. And we worked out that it was November 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's a good year and a half old now, isn't it?
Yeah. So, if you look at Intel, same kind of window of opportunity to release, then things like that. They bring out new chips, they bring out revisions of those chips, the same as AMD do.
Yeah.
So Apple would probably logically do the same. My view was like the Pro and the Max are 6 months old, if that. No, not even that really, are they? 5
4
months
months.
old. 4 months, can't even count. And you don't want to cannibalize your market. So bringing out an M2 that would be more powerful or better than the Pro or Max would be ridiculous because you just killed the baseline of your current.
That's not going to happen.
What I think Gurman was alluding to, wasn't it? As you were saying, is that these new M2s then will just be an incremental increase on the base model, won't it? The equivalent to this will replace the base M1 chip and will give you slight improvements.
I think it's going to enhance the architecture. So, Gurman is saying that you're going to have the same 8-core architecture, though maybe it'll be clocked slightly faster. Yes, you're going to get a few more graphics cores, up from 7 or 8 to 9 or 10.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's going to try and sort out some of the limitations currently in the M1, like obviously monitor support. You can only have 2 monitors. What's that all about? There's only so many USB ports you can have, and this is all probably to do with, I imagine, PCI Express lanes. So I imagine it's going to sort out some of the fundamental issues there. Whether they'll all be enabled in those devices that get the M2 to start off with, I don't know, but I reckon they'll be fully utilized when you get the M2 Pro and Max.
I think the M2 is a logical step. It's going to have to happen. They need to do that. They need to keep it fresh. You're right, though, that I don't think they can move everything to the M2 is kind of a stopgap because they haven't done the transition yet. They said that the transition would be completed in a year. Oh no, was it a year? Yeah, it was a year, wasn't it?
They said 2 years from when they first announced.
2 years. So they've got November. So they've got November. So to close that door, they need to do the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro, and
Yeah.
as we said, and I think we talked about this a little while ago. The Mac Pro, which would effectively have two or four M1 Max chips bolted together, wouldn't it? So,
Yeah.
it would be a super grunt of a machine. Um, hopefully it can handle more than two monitors, but that's another argument.
But I imagine by having 2 or 4 M1 Max chips bolted together, you've got the extra PCI Express lanes you need by
Yes,
brute force.
by brute force. Once they've done that, you can start spinning out M2, M3s left, right, and center because you've completed that lineup, then, haven't you? And you can
Exactly.
start to scale it up. And the same way that the Mac Pros have, what was it? Didn't they have the Intel Xeon Ws? Didn't they? I think
They did, yeah.
before. So you could keep that. I don't know. Let's call it the Super Max chip in there as a custom design for that Mac Pro that you don't need to put anywhere else, but you can keep it
Nope.
there. And you know full well that it will outpace any of the other chips for quite a while.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
But I don't think the M2 there will be a massive increase over what we've got. I mean, the Pro,
No,
the
it's going to
M1,
be an enhancement.
yeah, the M1 chip, the M1 chip itself is still a phenomenal bit of kit.
Yep.
The Pro and the Max, again, quite happily outpace 90% of everything else in the market space in their respective categories. And they will do for some time. But again, that all comes down to that complete and utter synergy between hardware and software that,
Yeah, it's the full
not
stack,
many,
isn't it?
yeah. But, M2, I think we will see M2. I think Maps, the only other rumor that came out this week, I don't think it was mentioned, was that there's talk of a new 16-inch MacBook coming out, isn't there? The M2 release. And there's talk of the return of the touch bar. I can't believe this. I'm like, who in their right mind wants the touch bar back? Everybody kicked up a fuss, didn't they, that it was there? They wanted it gone. Everybody was
Yep.
rejoicing that it had gone. And now it's back. Or it's rumored. I won't,
Potentially back.
Rumored.
Well, you don't know what else might be coming back. They've said half-sized Mac Pro. Is this return of the trash can?
I like that trash can. I'd love to buy one.
A lot of people did not.
I'd happily have one. I just can't afford
Get yourself on eBay.
Have you seen how much they are on eBay?
Oh, are they going for silly money, are they?
Yeah, I mean, the Mac was it the Mac Pro with the trash can version, like you say.
Yeah.
I swear I saw the other day. Listen, yeah, here you are. 900 quid for one here. Late 2013
buy it now,
model.
yeah, £900. Oh.
Some of them are 300 quid. Another one here is 800 quid. It's got 3.5 Intel Xeon E5, 64 gig of RAM, and twin D500 GPUs. I love the fact that there's you can buy a travel bag for it, which is hilarious.
£6 quid. Buy it now.
They are not cheap. But they're not as expensive as you'd imagine they could be, though. To be fair.
Yeah.
But I like it. I think they were. I don't know. I think it's a bit of a sexy.
I could just imagine the looks on everyone's faces as they unveiled the trash can Mark II on stage.
Yeah, but it won't be glossy. It'll be matte.
It'll be matte, of course. Yeah. And available in 5 different shades.
Yeah, I mean, I quite liked it. I can't say any other. It was a nice looking machine. Was it everybody's cup of tea? No,
was it Pro?
Realistically, yes, at the time, maybe, because
but you couldn't really upgrade it.
No, it had E5 chips in it, didn't it? So they're server grades. It had not a lot of RAM. Five.
No,
the base
it had
model,
the replaceable GPUs that they never really bought any actual replacements out for.
No, the fact the base models are it was like 64 gig. I think you could have like 64 gig of RAM in it, couldn't you? You could have was it 256 gig SSDs, which was hilarious. I mean, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that? It was the Fire Pro. I think the Fire Pro cards.
It would have been the AMD Fire Pros. Yeah, you don't really get Nvidia in Apple, do you? In Macs.
You used to, but yeah, not anymore. Yeah, futuristic design. Would I want to use one now? I don't know. I think if I was given one, I'd be quite happy to have it.
You'd boot it up.
Yeah, I'd play with it. But I mean, what would you run on it?
Monitors.
Yeah, you could run several monitors on it. You're right there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, what would you do? I mean, look, there's one here for £1,200 on eBay,
Wow.
which has got the 12 core. It's got the Intel 2.7 12 core, which is the fastest one available, 64 gig of RAM and a terabyte SSD, and then the Fire Pro cards. I mean, it's got 6 Thunderbolt ports. Who the hell uses Thunder? Nobody uses native Thunderbolt anyway, do they? But anyway, I digress. Right, I think that's probably a good place for us to wrap it up
Yep.
for tonight. We'll be back next week with episode 77. I nearly said 67, episode 77. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at Weekly Tech Rant, and all of our show notes are published on techrant.online, where you can also see our shiny new logo. And please, like I say, leave us a comment, tell your friends about us, and wherever you get your podcast from, we're on pretty much all of the main places. So with that, I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good evening, all.